tale of Petunia Pigeon in the Big Race, a story by Michelle Goldman. A little birdie once told me the most astonishing story of Miss Petunia Specklewing, the world champion homing pigeon. And this is the tale of me, Michelle Goldman. I was 17 when I painted this portrait of my dog Barney, and after entering it into a Paint Your Pet competition for a national newspaper, it went on to win first prize. I was featured in the Weekend magazine, which my proud mother subsequently bought 5,000 copies of. The best, the keenest and most fast, she wouldn't dream of coming last, all the while making Farmer Jim proud and crowing to all the creatures around. She trained hard for the Champions Trophy, her very first time to cross the sea. They would drive to France and be set free. She assumed she'd be home in time for tea. Ooh. During my foundation course at Chelsea College, I started to become inspired by urban landscapes, buildings and artificial lighting. Working from photos I had taken on a trip to Hong Kong, I created a series of oil paintings such as this, which I wanted to reflect the feeling of a film still. But starting in France, her bearings were off. The sun was too harsh, the wind was too soft, so she hitched a ride on a French sailor's sails. He taught her to play cards and told her his tales. With a peck on the cheek and cooing goodbye, she set off at speed high into the sky. I treated my fine art degree at Bath Spa University like an extended foundation course, experimenting with different mediums including photography. This is one of my favourites that I took, but was more luck than judgment. I built my entire final show around the happy mistake of an unfocused medium format camera. Her tummy rumbling, close to tears, ready to give up, full of fears. Then she smelled it from up high, Farmer Jim's wife's scrummy plum pie. Quick as lightning to the scent she soared, past the high street, left at the red door. Oh, she was home, she'd found her way. But wait, does it say the cafe? After university and travelling and running out of money, I returned home. My parents had just moved to lovely Lee, so it was a new start. I returned to oils and spent many hours painting in a little garden shed studio, listening to macabre music and slowly going a bit crazy. Oh, poor little birdie, poor little thing, where's he from? What shall we call him? He? Petunia wondered who they meant. Me? Surely not. I'm a lady, I'm no gent. How about Bertie or John Paul or Ralph? Petunia raised her eyebrow, dropped her mouth. This is an oil painting of a petrol station that I photographed in the dead of night. I was hugely inspired by the striking and simple paintings of Edrushka, and as I have a habit of overworking my paintings, it was quite refreshing to do a stripped back picture like this. Being so tired, she fell fast asleep in a cardboard box with a soft old sheet. When she awoke, the cafe was shut. Only one waitress left washing up. You look hungry, have some cake, bread and pie. So she did, to build strength so she could fly. I'm also very interested in the situationists who would try to disrupt the everyday. So for the 2010 Lee Art Trail, I photographed some of the regulars of a local cafe, painted their portraits and placed them on the walls nearest to where they would sit. This is Mrs. Thornton, who always ordered a cappuccino and a toasted tea cake. Such a full tummy Petunia could not stand, so the waitress carried her home in her hand. I hope you like cats, you see I have two, Missy and Molly, but they'd never hurt you. Petunia was scared. She'd only ever heard that a cat's favourite thing is to eat a bird. This is a recent commission working from an old photograph that I did for a lovely lady as a surprise for her partner, who is one of the RAF pilots. The black and white tones evoke a sense of nostalgia, and the picture has a narrative that tells a story of past relationships. For you see, the mistakes made once again. Missy and Molly were not ladies, but men. They were ever so kind to Petunia, introduced themselves as Jasper and Junior. The next day, Petunia was sad to say ta-ra to her friends, the waitress, Junior and Jasper. This This oil painting is based on Gerhard Richter's Nude on a Staircase. This is the second in a series of nudes of Peter as part of a long-term project where I wish to paint him every couple of years. It will be interesting to see the changes in him and in me as a painter. A boiling hot day, the sky pure blue, focused on home, high as she flew. Oh, the excitement, so close to home, but she was falling towards the garden gnomes. Flap your wings, the animals began to shout. Ever since she left, they had been on lookout. This is one of my most recent works and will be appearing at this year's Lee Art Trail. Having never painted landscapes before, I was inspired to do so while on a holiday in the Lake District. My close friend is a landscape artist and encouraged me to loosen up my style and not get too bogged down with the detail. But tiredness has got the best of our feathered friend. She was falling fast and our tale is near the end. If you would like to find out if our heroine Petunia makes it home safely, books will be available to buy from me at the end of the show. And finally, the Secret Art Club is a monthly class I run with my friend Ali. With a perfect mix of art and food, visitors get the opportunity to experiment with lots of different mediums, plus the chance to feast on Ali's latest culinary masterpieces. It's very interesting to see the students' different styles and watch them progress through to their final pieces. Thank you very much.
I'm sorry, you've got a rather elderly lady at the moment. That is me. I'm 80 actually. So if I'm making any mistakes, you'll just apologise, I hope. This is one of the paintings I did when I was 19. I was into social documents. It's a queue of people queuing up for coke outside the gasworks. And I did it as a commissioned painting for Mr. Dixon. Can you imagine him taking it home for his wife? I don't think she'd really like it in her living room, but I seem to be interested in rather miserable things sometimes. And I think possibly the child there in between is based on me. I don't think I had a very happy childhood. Can everyone hear me, by the way? Yes. Thank God for that. I've got to the stage in my life when I can't hear other people, you see, so I just have to sort of pretend that I know what they're saying, which makes it rather difficult. Each time I used to go to work, I used to see these people outside the gasworks. And, so in the end, I felt I just had to paint them. Of course, some of them are made up. This was a view from my bedroom window when I lived in Chelsea Avenue. I mean, appropriately enough, you think Chelsea, my goodness. As you can see, this is rather bleak. But, of course, this is all built on now, and there's modern flats. And it was quite interesting to do. I was going to evening classes at the time, because I was an art student, but had to leave when I was 18 because my parents separated. My father was waiting for me to get a job. I didn't realise at the time. Well, that's how life is, isn't it? Oh, this is based on my mother. She didn't actually look like that Possel, but she was a rather sad person, and especially after Daddy left. And she just had me, you see. And once again, it's a sort of social comment on the elderly and on the heating and so on, and washing hay. Suddenly I'm going to my second husband. I hope you don't mind. I've left the first one out. This is when we were living in a caravan. It was a great mistake. We weren't married at first, but my aunt, apparently, so according to my mother, I killed her because we were living together like that. I found afterwards that she just died of natural causes. This is a rather enchanting cottage that used to be right near the caravan site, called Lovedown Farm Cottages. Of course, it's been pulled down now, like anything that's enchanting. I mean, I'm just expecting it myself, actually. This is a view from my caravan window. It was very bleak living there because we had no toilet. You had to go down to communal toilet, if you can imagine. And of course it was romantic at first because my husband used to see me down to the toilet and wait outside with an umbrella if it was raining. But, and this one was when I was living in the bank house in Lee. It was a lovely time, and I was going out with a cockleboat skipper. Well, you have to, don't you, if you live in Lee? And that's based, the painting over the bed is based on him. This is a great big picture. I did a Jubilee rebuilding, which my husband persuaded me to do from the top of the Civic Centre, but unfortunately it was ever such hot weather. I didn't really want to do it, but the Beecroft brought it in the end, thank God, because it would never have gone in the caravan side. Oh, this is Ken, by the way, the cockleboat skipper. Lovely, isn't he? And his boat was called the Liberator, and he really liberated me. In fact, I never got rid of him, I don't think. I used to put him in a lot of my paintings. I mean, there's arms, and it was like kissing a feather bed. This is Mrs. Aldershaw. I call this Spring Comes to Mrs. Aldershaw. And she was in the downstairs flat where I lived in Elm Road at one time. And I used to try and creep in because she used to call out, "Cooey!" and you had to speak to her, and sometimes you didn't feel like it, you know, if you sort of had a rough time. Once again, based on Cockleboat Skipper, you could call it bottoms, really. I mean, there's only two bottoms there, but it's lovely to actually paint something. It's like a design. I've been painting for centuries, everybody, I must make that point clear. As you think, why have I bothered? But I don't really want to do anything else. You know, I just love it. This is my late partner who built quite a lot of the old Lee studios that I share with Richard and Katie. I don't know if you want to stand up and bow or curtsy or anything like that. Wave. He was a very kind man. He put up with me, and he used to do my framing. So I got my framing for free, you see. This is another style, because I've got several styles that I've done in the past based on old Lee. I don't just do the crooked billet, which people seem to think I do, and I think I might go mad, might have it on my tombstone. She did the crooked billet. But it's nice to make it into a design with the church at the top. I also go disco dancing. My God, what an accomplished woman. And this is based on the slow dance you get in discos, and I've been going for years, actually. I love it. I can't help. I'm going to show off, you see. Well, it's probably obvious that's why I'm here. And this one was a painting I did some years ago of Lee, obviously, and was purchased by the Beecroft, and it's in their permanent collection. And unfortunately, Lee isn't like that now. It's mostly seems to be machinery and rather built up. Which I think is rather sad. And this is one I did of, I don't know if people know locally, the Cornucopia pub, and Beecroft purchased this as well. I rather like the seediness of some parts of Southend, and makes it very interesting to do. This one, you think, what on earth is it? Is really my sort of idea of what the people are like outside of the Peterborough in the summer. I'm afraid I hate them at times. This is a comment on life. You're probably not going to see it long enough. You must come into my studio and have a look. I like to sort of make comments on life. Some of them might seem a bit unkind. I don't mean them to be unkind. I just want people to laugh. And this is my view of Lee today with all the machinery, which I think is quite a strong painting. I like it very much, but I don't suppose anyone's ever going to want it in their living room. unless it's someone that's obsessed, perhaps a man, might have my machinery. And it's time for me to say goodbye now. This is from my partner as well, who's sitting over there. And thank you for listening. I mean, I'll probably have to be dragged away. Thank you very much.
And I'm a milliner. This is my first time doing the Lee Art Trail, so I'm very, very excited to be here this evening. First time doing this as well, by the way. Very excited to be here and be part of the Lee Art Trail this year. This is one of the hats that will be in my collection, entitled Cocktails, and I'm showing it at Sarah Jane and Daniel's Shoes on Broadway. A bit about me. This is me and my family. We've got 3 boys, me and my husband. I took my first course in millinery in 2006, having never done it before, when number 3 son was a year old. And I studied just a short course at Southend College, behind the Curzall, the adult college. My teacher, who I worked with, had done lots of famous things, and I got to work with her as well. Her name is Sarah Grundy, and she previously worked for Stephen Jones. She was working on Mamma Mia in the West End, and I went to help her, and this is one of my creations that I made with her to go up and do that show, which I got very excited about, and she took completely in her stride. I started my own business in 2006, just working from home and trying to get a bit of publicity whilst looking after 3 quite young children, doing things like making carnival crowns for the Burnham Carnival Queen. I live in Burnham Crouch, by the way. Just to get some publicity and things like that. I don't know why I've got these snacks, I haven't finished them yet. Right, there we go. Okay, so I do normal hats as well. I like to do, quite often, these are sort of mother of the bride sort of things. I make them all to order. The hats are head size measured. It's all a matter of blocking with steam and stuff like that. So when people have a hat like that, which is made out of straw, it can be shaken in the wet. I take my inspiration quite a lot from the materials I find. This hat was made simply because I found such a gorgeous piece of fabric that I needed to use it. That was part of a collection, English Country Garden, and as you can see, just a red rose. This was another one. This was made, the block for that I made myself out of styrofoam, carved it and sanded it, and that was a poppy topper that was also part of the collection for the English Country Garden. My glamorous model is called Fiona, so we know who we're talking about. I use lots of different sort of techniques. I'm just going to show you a few of the techniques here. This again, beading to create passion flower. You've got there stiffened fabric, stiffened with like a PVA, and you can steam it and iron it and create a variety of shapes and different ideas with it, with the beading and stuff. This is leather work. I love working with leather. Leather doesn't fray, it's great. And you can also use it a lot with heat. The lily pads and what have you have been a solder iron to mark them. And also if you're making flowers, you can like run a match or whatever underneath it and it crimps it up. It's a really interesting thing to work with. This is acrylic, actually from the front of a clip art, you know, picture frame, that I've had cut into strips and then I've melted with a paint stripper to create lots of swirling, so there's like a goldfish jumping out, and goldfish from toy shops, spray painted gold stuck on. This shows you lots of different sort of feather techniques that I use, trimming to length, and this is, you know, this is more the traditional sort of thing I do, more the commission work I do, as opposed to the fun stuff like goldfish that I enjoy doing that not too many people necessarily really want to wear. You can see sort of just by plain sort of lengthening a feather. This is, I dye a lot of feathers. I use a jacquard acid dye for feathers. They're all the same, they're all white. I did 3 different dye baths to create those sorts of colours. And then I got my old hair straighteners, and a lot of floristry techniques are used in millinery and created a sort of twist. This is a hat I made for a lady quite recently. The jewellery on there was a piece of jewellery that she wanted to wear but didn't quite know where to wear it. So I do incorporate that sort of thing as well, taking other people's bits and putting them into, changing them around so they can wear different things. This was all hand-dyed to match her outfit. This will be part of this year's collection based on cocktails. This is my Blue Lagoon. I've taken it quite literally, as you can see. Again, this is cinnamon, which, as I said, it is derived from the banana plant, that actual straw material, and it dyes very nicely, which is what I've done there. So yeah, you've got the Blue Lagoon. This is the Bucks Fizz, not easy to wear, I grant you. That's got about 10 metres, well actually no, not 10, I exaggerate, say 5 metres of long strip of marabou feather that I've sewn round and round and round and round and round on a felt hood that I've blocked. If Fiona looks not great in it, this is my Irish coffee. Again, this is going to be part of this year's collection. Small button beret block. I've used suede on there and quills that I've dyed and curled, and also then I've cut the felt trim to just sort of give, you know, the sort of coffee sort of look. I like to just really, I am quite literal with my design. This is my friend Helen wearing the Cosmopolitan. I free-formed the cinnamon there and wired it to create that sort of shape. Again, spiky feathers. They were the same feathers that you saw earlier on, but trimmed and dyed differently. You can just sort of, you know, use so many different things. This one is my Whiskey Mac, and the curly bits on there, I don't know if you can see, but they're actually wood shavings, because I had a door fitted, and the guy was shaving off his door, and all these wonderful curly were falling off, these shavings, so I collected them all, and then I dyed them, and voila, a hat. This is my Margarita. That is an absolute ball ache doing that bit down the edge there. It's actually the soft veiling, and you have to pull it in on itself to make that kaleidoscopic sort of effect. You've got lace there that I've stiffened with gelatine and then wired, so you can't sort of see it. And then actually we're back to the beginning. And this is my Bloody Mary, which is also part, and I made this as a flat patterned hat, so it wasn't blocked. I made it in paper, and then cut out the buckram and fabrics, and you've got sort of another more funky feathers on there, and I say that will be part of my thing this week. I think that's
me. Right, I wish I could be as amusing as Sheila was earlier. I'll try my best, but I'm probably just going to tell you a little bit about what I do as a mosaic artist. So I've been making mosaics for over 25 years, and currently working from our studio in Ashley Drive in Leigh, which is a nice place to work. Oh, I've missed a sign.
Let's go.
I'm stopping, sorry.
Giving a nod.
I've got a nod.
Ready?
Oh, I start again then.
I'm ready. You ready?
Ah, Ashley Drive. Yes, so 25 years of making mosaics, and I've ended up in Ashley Drive. Still have a studio at home as well. And it's a great place to work. It's in the heart of Leigh. Always wanted to be there, but it took me years to be able to afford it. Oh, my slideshow is working really well now. Right, I'm going to ignore this. I'm going to go to my memory. I started in the 80s, and my big breaks were making props and things for big stores in London, like Selfridges. This was Selfridges window, and they won awards for this window. And they'd come to me and ask me to make things, and I'd basically just come up with weird ideas, and they'd go, yeah, that sounds great, go on, do it. And so I do it. And then I started making furniture as well. So furniture and tables, and again, I was lucky enough to have my ranges sold through Liberty, House of Fraser, and Dickinson Jones. Which, you know, is a great honour actually selling furniture from Liberties. I really loved it. It's a great thing to have. Always done interiors, quite exciting interiors. This is a detail from a large floor mosaic. Yeah, so not just for sort of expensive houses, but we've also done a lot of work in bars and restaurants, and done some quite wacky things in interiors, and occasionally get asked to do, I've done sort of signage for whole ranges of shops at Dome Cafe. Eventually I was asked to do a book, which I did quite a few years ago, which was very successful. Sold 30,000 copies and was in over 10 countries. From that, I was then asked to be the guest speaker at a symposium of mosaics in France. And obviously with that you get the celebrity endorsements and TV appearances, so I then got to meet all these wonderful people, and Mary Portas had some of my furniture in her home, and got me to make things on got me to make things for Selfridges. Not Selfridges, Harvey Nichols, sorry. This is Swan Walk, which was a rather large piece of mosaic in a shopping centre. It was quite complicated actually. It was 150 interlocking sections that I made in the studio, and I had to install it in basically overnight while the shops were shut. So it took me 6 months to make, and then I installed it. Something I just finished actually. It was a lovely project. There's a new home, dementia home, that's been opened in Leigh, and I worked with 3 different schools to create works for it. This sculptural bench, I worked with Wesley Pfeiffer Girls, and we created the bench, and you can see them in the top corner there. And the walls at the bottom I actually did with Darlinghurst Primary School and Our Lady of Lourdes, and it was quite nice getting the youngsters to actually work on something more complex rather than just sort of general children's mosaics. But yeah, it was a good experience, and it's all just been done. This is the mosaics in the Southend Pier. Yeah, I've done a whole range of mosaics which are in Southend Pier, in the main entrance as you go in, and in the atrium area, and then above on the decking as well. There's another piece of my work. It's all about snapshots of Southend, really. Music, I've always loved music, so I've been making these mosaic album covers for the last few years. They're all 1 metre square. The one I'm hoping to have 10, which will be an exhibition. But the one I'm working on at the moment is taking me months. I keep putting it to one side because it's just a nightmare. It's just too much work. And I'm thinking, why did I start this? Right, going on to music, about me and myself. I love music. I've always DJ'd, I've always collected music. Polyvinyl Craftsman is something I do with 2 other collectors. We do a radio show, and that's going really well. It's an internet radio show we do once a week, where we just indulge ourselves in our music. And now we've got a record company, so we're releasing our first record. And the band is the Wobbly Lamps, and they're our first record. And it comes out at the end of June, and hopefully we're going to showcase that at Village Green. And they're already getting really rave reviews, so for us it's really exciting, because suddenly we've got our own vinyl record that we can put on our decks. This is getting back to my work now, so this was a series of works that I did. We're all based on 1940s and 50s tattoo artists at Burt Grimm, people of that light from that era. And I just love the simplicity of those ink drawings on skin, and did a similar thing. Back to my loved one, Fiona, who's put up with me for over 25 years. We work together every day, and she has strengths that I don't have, so we work together great, although we do bicker like hell, which if you've never seen us, it can be quite shocking for a lot of people, because we are a couple that just bicker really badly, and it can put you off. So this is now getting back to what I've been doing for the last few years. So now I've gone right back to ancient techniques, and I'm working with a hammer and hardy, which was what they used in Roman times to work and shape the stone and glass. But I'm trying to create really contemporary modern work, but using really ancient techniques. And it's all about the texture of the work. It's using the just the texture to create the pattern, but actually it's very regular, just squares or rectangles in perfect rows. But yeah, it's creating the texture of the work. Here is a private commission. I'm still using the same tools, so still a hammer and hardy, and now I'm working with, this is made with smalty, which is a material that was used in Roman and Byzantine times. It's coloured glass, but it's rough chunks of glass. It's a beautiful material to work with. It's just the way it catches the light. I was hoping with this to try and create a mosaic that looked like a spontaneous painting. And I wanted, it's so controlled normally mosaic, and I wanted something that had that feel to it. I think I achieved it, but it actually was done in the reverse. It was actually done, every piece was planned to the ultimate. It was all drawn and planned. This is what I'm working on for this year's art trail, which is my mixing of mosaic with modern digital media. So I'm doing QR codes out of Mosaic. We've been working on this for a year, and we're now sort of producing them, and it's something exciting. That use of new and old